This next story might be a little hard to watch, but it makes me glad that the Humane Society of Missouri exists to help abused animals. Luke, a Newfie, was suffering badly. His collar was put on so tightly, it actually embedded itself into his skin. Luke was a victim of serious neglect. An embedded collar is so painful, it is horrific to even think about. The Humane Society of Missouri came to Luke's aid. They expertly removed the collar and monitored him closely to make sure no infections set in. Best of all, the Humane Society was able to give Luke a second chance by adopting him to a family that would never neglect him. Take a look at Luke's story.
We had received a complaint about a canine with an embedded collar. It had been reported that the injury was completely around the neck, the complete circumference of the neck. We responded. A warrant was secured by the Lincoln County Sheriff's Office. We were able to go onto the property and secure the animal via the warrant.
When Luke came in spring of 2014, he was in very bad condition. He was more than 10 pounds underweight. He had a deeply embedded nylon collar on around his neck. The nylon collar was so tight that it was digging an inch into his neck. Luke required extensive medical and surgical treatment to recover. First, we had to remove that collar, get his wounds cleaned up. In between, Luke was on pill medication and on treatment, topical treatments and bandage changes on a regular basis for weeks. And then Luke finally was at the point where we could do surgery on him to try and assist in removing some of the extensive scar tissue that had initially built up because of how prolonged the collar had been on his neck. It took him quite a prolonged period to recover from this. He was one of the worst ones we've had in the last couple of years. And so his recovery extended over 6 or 8 weeks. It took quite a long time before he was ready to go up for adoption.
My dog, he's a really good dog. He's really happy and joyful all the time. And he loves playing or going on long walks. And he has lots of energy. And then when he uses up all that energy, it's just like a giant blob, kind of like a sloth. It's just really slow moving.
Originally, I was thinking I would get a purebred Newfoundland, and then I thought about it a little bit more, and I figured there were plenty of dogs out there that really needed a home.
I walk into the shelter, and then you walk past all the cute little puppies. You think, oh, well, I want a puppy instead of a giant dog. But then you see him, and you realize that I want the big dog. At first, I was a little scared because he kind of jumped up on the glass. But after interacting with him and visiting with him, you just realize how much of like a playful spirit he has and how much personality he really has and how he could really play into this family.
The first time I saw Luke at the shelter was quite intimidating. I looked down, and here was this massive dog jumping and barking at me on the inside of his plexiglass cage. But then in the back of my mind, I was like, well, I told myself if they had a Newfoundland, I needed to explore it. I actually had 2 kids at summer camp when I first saw Luke. Sophie, my oldest, she knew about it. The 2 youngest, they had a surprise when they came home.
Well, I was in the car coming home from sleepaway camp, and my mom's like, so hey, do you guys want to have a surprise? And we're like, yeah, sure. And she said, okay, you guys have 3 guesses, and then if you don't get it, then I'll tell you. So we guessed random things like a chair or a rug, and then we didn't get it. So she took her phone out and she showed us her phone, and there was like a little dog sitting on his bed.
Sam, the youngest, sits behind me in the car, and he saw the pictures of Luke. His first reaction was,
"What, we got a dog?"
And then Nina, who is excited, says, "You got a dog?" So mixed reactions because Sam had in the past been scared of dogs.
And now Luke made me like dogs. He always is happy.
I mean, when I see him running around in the yard, he's a goofball. He just zooms around and it's all play. Luke has done so much for the kids as far as having him to hang out with, having him to be with us, having him to go on a walk together. And there was just more family time. We would go on a walk because of Luke, which just allowed us to spend time together.
The most fun I have with him is definitely playing with him and taking him on walks because he's just so full of energy. How something could have that much energy and be so happy like that. It's just really encouraging.
There are 3 felines in the family, and Luke really wants to be friends with them. Let's just say it's not reciprocal.
He's just always really happy, and I think it kind of like rubs off on me, or if I'm in a bad mood, maybe he'll make me happier.
It's just been a lot of fun. There are silly stories when the kids come home from school. I tell them what Luke did. So there are just these funny little stories that we have now that have just enhanced our lives.
If I could do anything for Luke, it would be to take away his past and make sure that his life would have been great from the start.
I know with Luke alone having multiple surgeries just for his neck, but then he's also neutered, I know that that's a tremendous expense that as the adoptive parent, I didn't have to incur, which it makes it feasible for pretty much anybody to adopt a dog.
Jasmine, I could hardly watch that story. Luke's embedded collar looked so painful.
Oh, I'm sure it was.